Hello and welcome to another edition of Mosaic, an African-American perspective. I'm your host, Deborah Milo. Today we will be talking to Tina Clarke, an educator with Montgomery County Public Schools and former African-American liaison in the County Executive's Office, and Vernon Ricks, former Takoma Park City Council member and currently serving on the NAACP Executive Committee. We are honored to have both of these distinguished guests with us today to talk about Black History Month and some of the pivotal events in Montgomery County's history. Thank you both for coming today.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
I want to talk a little bit about Black History Month, now that we call it African American History Month, about the annual observance, and tell me a little bit about the history of the observance and how it came to be.
Well, initially it was one day a week, and it was started by Carter G. Woods in 1929, and he felt that there should be some acknowledgement and recognition of all the African American achievements, and we were able to get just one day, and then I think it became 1 week, and then later it was increased to 1 month. But it is my opinion that it should be celebrated every day based on all the accomplishments and achievements of African Americans in the United States, as well as the state of Maryland, as well as Montgomery County.
Ironically, as you look at it, it's the shortest month of the year.
True.
So we get shortcut on the amount of days that we get to celebrate Black History Month. But again, as Tina has said, it is important that we do celebrate it. And as a kid, it was a week when I was in school, and we had that celebration.
Okay, okay. It's a good time for all of us to reflect on the accomplishments of notable African Americans. Absolutely. Given that we just inaugurated for the second term, if you will, the first African American president. Let's talk about how significant that is and what it means for our country as well as our communities. And Vernon, this time I'm going to start with you.
Okay. I think it's very significant as we swore in our 44th president 4 years ago, and now again to re-elect him. It's a significant contribution from our community in voting. When you look at 1965, when the Voting Rights Act was just implemented, and then 43 years after the Pettus Bridge and other civil rights kinds of things, we now have celebrated the second coming or inauguration of president. And if you look back, when they said to some months ago, or years ago, they said about Michelle Obama that when she said, I finally feel like I'm an American, they were very concerned, the nation was concerned about that. But now we all feel that pride. And we understand it takes, this many years for us to really understand the significance of all that we've accomplished in this country.
Tina, share your thoughts on that.
Well, I never thought that I would live to see the day. I did not think that I would ever be alive to see an African American president. And for me, it was a very emotional roller coaster.
I'm sure.
And I did whatever I needed to do to ensure that he was going to be elected the first time, as well as the second time. And I was able to, and thanks to our Congressman Chris Van Hollen, was able to participate in the swearing-in event both times with my grandchildren. So beautiful. That was significant for me as well as for them, and it was probably one of the most emotional times of my life to just be there each time to witness the swearing in of an African American president.
When I hear stories and comments like this, it always brings to mind growing up with my parents, growing up in the Midwest, and just listening to their stories about wondering if that will ever happen.
Yeah,
and it's amazing.
That's true.
It's amazing that I'm actually here to see that, and that my family and children and grandchildren are here to see that. So it is that much important.
Significant.
Very, very significant. Yes. I'm sure each of us has one person in our lives who've really somewhat transformed the way we think about who we are. Who would that person be for you?
Well, actually, there are three folks for me.
Okay.
I mean, that really shaped my values in my value system, and that would be my grandfather, Professor Noah Edward Clark, as well as my grandmother, Molly Clark, and my Aunt Beulah. And those are the folks who instill all the values, family values in me, and how to be a good, decent person, but also how to make sure or ensure that people are treated fairly.
Yes.
And that, I mean, for us, segregation was really a very difficult time, a very painful time, very humiliating time. But given the values from my grandparents and my Aunt Beulah, it made the pill a lot easier to swallow, because they taught you that you were a good person, and that no matter what the system said, that how unequal you were, you knew you were a good person. And so those are the values that I live by, but also the fact that once you get to where you think you need to be, you must reach back and get someone else. You must live for the betterment of your community.
Absolutely.
And that's what I strive to do every day of my life.
Absolutely. I can't agree with you more. Vernon, for you?
I look at my parents also, but I go back even further back even in before my life, people like W.E.B. Du Bois, and those folks who had the courage to step out when blacks were being lynched in this country. When you come along and I look at Thurgood Marshall and the lawyers who went to the Supreme Court to stand up for the right for our kids to go to equal and integrated school systems. And so as I look back over the history, there are a lot of people who have influenced me that I have to move forward in this community. I have to pick up that banner. I have to pick up the values that they had instilled in the country and in our people to move ahead and to get things done. So that's one of the things that gives me the grit to keep moving and to do the things that I do to help in this society.
I heard you mention W.E.B. Du Bois.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm also looking to you, Tina, to tell me who in your mind or in your heart a notable African American would have also influenced you to be the kind of fighter and be so passionate.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that would be the person. He was a man of just impeccable courage and humility.
Yes.
And I was a lot closer to him than most people realize, because my brother, Benjamin Roy Clark, marched with Dr. King. He was one of the Freedom Riders. He was with Dr. King through the entire civil rights movement, as well as traveling with Stokely Carmichael from the Nonviolent organization out of Howard University, and H. Rap Brown. But Dr. King would be that person. I also represented the county executive's office as the executive liaison for the Martin Luther King Commemorative Committee for 16 years. And that was also caused me to feel really, really prideful, because that was quite an experience. And I learned more about him as we proceeded through all of those celebrations. Yeah, so it would be Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
I love
an incredible man.
Incredible man. And even though we can read wonderful books and literature about Dr. King, Dr. Du Bois, we still have to listen and get the stories from people like you who've lived it. And I think that that's such a critical part of developing the whole consciousness of being an African American.
The March on Washington was just incredible. It was just incredible just to be there. I mean, that is a feeling. I mean, the only thing that I can think that was second to that was the swearing in President Barack Obama. But the March on Washington, the I Have a Dream speech, just to be there, just to sit there with my family and listen to it.
And
it's one exciting experience.
That same type of energy and that same type of passion is what we have to continue to feel every day.
Tell your story.
Tell
over
your
and
story.
over again, tell your story.
Absolutely.
And there were some great women who
Glad you said that.
Oh yeah, that's true.
When you look at Rosa Parks,
yes.
who sat down so that we can now stand up.
Absolutely.
And be proud
Absolutely.
of the accomplishments.
And she was a friend of ours.
And she
through the NAACP.
That's
yes,
right.
yes,
That's right.
Yes, and she was a secretary
Yes.
of the branch in Alabama.
Right.
But those folks, to me, really gave us the marching orders. You know, during Martin Luther King's time, most of his time, I was serving in the U.S. Air Force in the military, and I got to see prejudice in other venues across the country. And so even though I could not be here to march with them, I had to do things defending our country that made significant venues for us to get ahead in the military and what have you.
And I think that the military piece is just now starting to come to light.
Yes.
Right.
I really do.
That's true.
The more that I've read, the more that I visit various places throughout the country to talk to people about their experiences, I'm hearing more and more veterans from World War II, you know, talk about their experiences, how they've shared with their young people. So it's so critical that we address and acknowledge the sacrifices that were made to our gentlemen in uniform and ladies in uniform as well.
It had always been part of the verbal discussion, but very little printed matter.
Absolutely.
Because my cousin was one of the Tuskegee Airmen. So, you know, you get to tell your story over and over again, but nobody was really printing it.
I understand
until the
that.
last few years. Now you get to read about all those accomplishments and all of those achievements.
Absolutely amazing. Tina, your grandfather was instrumental in writing the desegregation policy for the Montgomery County school system. Can you tell us a little bit about him and how this came about?
Well, my grandfather, I spent my formative years with my Aunt Beulah, my grandma Molly Clark, and my grandfather. And my grandfather, I mean, he has an amazing story because in those days when my grandfather grew up, the most an African American could get was a 5th or 6th grade education. And so Papa got a 5th grade education and went to college, from the 5th grade to college, and he graduated with a degree in music from Lincoln University. And in those days, black teachers had to teach a lot of things. So he was a music teacher by degree, but he also taught a lot of things. But he was very humorous. He was very, very bright. He was very astute, very humorous, and we like to say witty. And he traveled all over this county in that little Model T Ford, teaching music and whatever he could to the African American community. And so, as I said, he's one of my heroes because he did so much for the education of African Americans in Montgomery County. And even when there was very little money available, what a lot of folks don't know is that in order for African Americans to be educated, there was a fund that had to be met. The Board of Education said you had to meet this fund. And so African American community had to raise money. And in order to build schools of higher education, they had to raise their money. Now that was one venue that he participated in, but also he worked with Julius Rosenwald, who was a very wealthy man that went all through the United States of America, to each state building schools for African Americans.
This is going to be a fascinating conversation, and when we come back on our second segment, I want you to finish up and talk more about your grandfather.
I'd be happy to.
For those of you who have just tuned in, you're watching Mosaic, an African-American perspective. I'm Deborah Milo, and we're talking with Tina Clarke and Vernon Ricks. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll return shortly with more conversation about Black History Month.
There was a day when the villain was easy to spot. These days are different. One day, while shuffling through bills, John discovers something wonderful. A check for $3,000. I just won the International Lottery. I don't remember entering the International Lottery. He calls the lottery agent to verify the news. Hello? Hello? The lottery agent confirms John's good fortune. She tells John the process to claim his winnings is easy. International law requires a portion of the check to be wired back to the office immediately to pay the taxes on your winnings. After that, the rest of the prize money will be released to you. John deposits the check and then wires the money to the agent. John is happy. Too bad the lottery check wasn't real. Unfortunately, the money John wired was real. You work hard for your money. Don't let a few minutes with a scammer separate you from what's taken days, weeks, or even a lifetime to earn. Consumer Federation of America reminds you, you can't win a lottery that you've never entered. Winners pay taxes directly to the government. And remember, there is no legitimate reason why anyone who sends you money would ask you to send money anywhere in return. If that's the deal, it's a scam. You can protect yourself from fraud. Learn how at consumerfed.org/fake check scams.
Hi, my name is Veronica Tejada. I'm here at the Mid-County Regional Services Center, located right next to the Wheaton Metro Station in Wheaton, Maryland. I want to welcome you to the Gilchrist Center for Cultural Diversity, Montgomery County's #1 research center for new Americans since 2001.
The Gilchrist Center's main office is located on the second floor at 2424 Reedy Drive in Wheaton. You can get information on employment, health services, free legal advice, and many other services. Improve your skills by taking free or low-cost classes in English as a second language, basic computers, citizenship preparation, Spanish, and job preparation.
I live in United States and I want communication with my grandchildren and my family and all people.
Stop by one of our 3 locations and find out how we can serve you.
County Cable Montgomery, your information station.
Welcome back to Mosaic, the African-American perspective. I'm here with Tina Clarke and Vernon Ricks. Tina, you and I were having a nice conversation about your grandfather writing the desegregation policy for Montgomery County Public Schools. Talk to me more about that.
Well, there were 2 things that happened during that process. And one was that he was not allowed to present it to the Board of Education, the Montgomery County Board of Education. He in turn had to present it to 2 white women. They had to take it to the board for the presentation. The other thing was that they refused to correct the spelling of his name. He mentioned that my name is spelled with an E, and after they were made aware of it, they just simply ignored it and went on and printed it without the E, which I think just added insult to injury.
Yes.
But the whole process, I think, was a daunting task for all the African Americans who participated on that committee, because they felt that it probably wasn't going to happen, or it was going to happen at some later date, even though that was going to be their recommendation. But the other thing about that was that it was just important for all the students to be treated equally. I mean, you have no idea what it's like to go to school for 12 years and not have a new book. I mean, my first new book was in college, and I remember my professor saying, well, we've got a used bookstore. I said, not going to happen. I haven't had a book in 12 years. I'm certainly going to buy a new book at this time, even though it was a very expensive book. But not having anything new, all of our supplies came from the white schools. And of course, they would tear pages out. They would write all kind of racial slurs and things in the books. Now, the policy dictated that all the books were supposed to go to a binder, a book binder, and have new covers and things put. Never happened. So I don't know where that money went that was set aside for that to happen. But it never happened. So we got books with no covers on them. So within a classroom, you would have maybe 5 or 6 students sharing one book, because that would be the book that would have most of the pages in it.
Right.
But you know, given the fact we weren't allowed to go to the public library, I mean, how smart is that?
The public
Couldn't
library.
go to the public library, although my relatives paid taxes like everybody else did, and couldn't go to the public library. But my grandfather had every kind of book you needed to read. And within our own community, we really did have what we needed. We had our own stores, the grocery stores.
That's right.
We could go make all kind of purchases.
That's right.
We, of course, didn't have a mailman to deliver the mail, and we had to go to the post office to pick it up. But within the confinements of our community, we had what we needed. We were well loved. We were educated. We went to church every Sunday. We had culture trips that were sponsored by the church, because if you think back, the church was the most important entity in the black communities
That's true.
at that time.
That's true.
So everything came through the church, all of our social events and all those kinds of things. So we had what we needed there. We just wanted what was fair and what was equal. That's what we did not have. And that's what we strived to get. And that's what my grandfather fought so hard to make happen.
And Vernon, I'm quite sure that you can definitely have some comment to that.
No question. You would think that in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., that you wouldn't have that kind of thing, but I went to segregated schools in the District of Columbia. And in going there, when they integrated the schools in 1954, I was in that group that, in high school that they transferred to a white school. And at the end of our school year, they throw the books away that Tina was talking about. And they were doing this at the black school that I went to, Armstrong in D.C. And I took a physics book because I liked that book. And when I got to the white school, I was using this book in a lab work one day, and my lab partner said to me, let me see this book because, this is an old book. And I said, yes. And he looked at the book and he laughed after he had opened the book up. And I said, well, what's so funny? That's my brother.
Oh my goodness.
That's my brother's name in the book, which
and come from a white school.
Yes. So, just because it was Maryland, which was, quote, one of the Confederate quote states, the District of Columbia, where slavery was stopped in the 1850s, and yet we still had segregated schools, and they were separate and unequal.
Yes.
Another quick anecdote was that we would always play basketball. And at the black school, we had 2 basketballs. One that we played for with Jim and one for the varsity team. When we got to the white school, the blacks would all crowd around the one goal to shoot baskets. And the gym teacher said, well, why are you doing that? Well, we have plenty of basketballs. And he took me into a closet that was big as this room, and were basketballs and footballs and nets all around the room, which said to me then that we were told that we were getting equal schools.
But you weren't.
But we weren't. And I want my grandkids to know that they need to appreciate. I want them to grow up appreciating the fact
sacrifices and the struggle.
That the struggle was there, and that we have to bring our history forward to them. If we don't bring it forward, nobody will tell our history. Black History Week was only in the black schools. So now the school systems are trying to catch up. They needed a month, but they need years.
They do need years. You're right about that. And it's as though that as we see the young people coming up now, you really have to ask the questions when you sit down and you talk to them. What are you actually learning about black history? What do you know?
About your history?
Your history.
That's right. What do you know about it?
We see children at church. We see children every day, and we stop and we talk to the kids and we say, "Tell me what you know." Well, Dr. Martin Luther King. Okay. That's
that one
great.
They can relate to.
They can relate to. Okay.
Never heard of the Tuskegee Airmen.
Never heard of them.
I know.
Never heard of them.
I asked that question.
But their histories within families.
It really is.
That need to come forward. Ancestors who, my ancestors were in Quince Orchard, and I understand that they had 85 acres of land. And I used to tease the county executive and say, look, I want my 40 acres of land me back.
I think a few of us have actually said that and made that claim, believe me. A little more about the Glen Park protests. I want you to talk about that, Tina, because that was just, that turned everything around.
Another painful experience. But that entire process, that entire segregation process was very painful. It really was. And Glen Echo was probably one of the most painful because it was the only amusement park that we had in this area. And African Americans had to travel miles, usually going to Annapolis to Carr's or Sparrows Beach, which were the black beaches. Or our church would sponsor trips where some of these venues would have a day, a month for African American children. And so all the African American churches would get together and we'd go to these places. So locally, it was only Glen Echo.
So let me guess, I'm quite sure the wording back then probably was not
Colored.
African American, colored or
We were
Negro.
colored.
We were
no.
colored.
In Montgomery County, it was colored. We had the colored schools and the colored children. But you know, one of the most painful things over at Glen Echo was, and I really admire that community that stood with us, and they marched with us, and they protested with us every weekend or whenever we were there until integration came. But some of the more painful experience was the way adults treated children, the names they called us, and they spit on us. I mean, an adult man spit on me. And you know, as part of our training with the NAACP, we were taught, just keep marching.
Right.
But how do you do that? And I'm marching and I'm singing, I'm doing all the things I was taught to do. Right. And the spit is rolling down and is on my blouse, and my grandma had made me, you know, in those days they had these little white blouses called Peter Pan collars. And so I remember we got back on the bus that the women held coats and things up, and so I could take it off, and we threw it away because it had saliva just all on it. But the other thing was, of course, was where there's now the art gallery, which is in one of the buildings that looks like a tower. That's where they held us for arrest until the cops came to get us. And so that one part I have not been in yet. I mean, when during the 50th celebration, I couldn't go there. But with a lot of help from Vernon and my dearest friend on the second floor, Connie Lathan, we managed to get a carousel ride, because I love carousels. Wherever we went to the amusement park on Colored Day, that's the only thing that I wanted to ride on was the carousel. And
I wouldn't go to Glen Echo. I would not go. I was not going to the 50th celebration. Tina dragged me
kicking and screaming.
One of the reasons, as a kid in D.C., we would catch the streetcar. That was a ride out to Glen Echo. You know,
look at the kids having a good time.
But there was a stop right in front of Glen Echo, which they would not let you get off. Even get off of the streetcar there. You had to wait until the car had gone further down the line. And I had friends who lived out in Carver, off of Gibson, the Gibsons,
Lincoln Park area.
And so we would, you know, want to get off, but you couldn't get off there. You couldn't even get off and stop. And so I would not go. I would not even look at Glen Echo as I went past.
It's painful.
And you know, so when Tina got me to go, you know, for the 50th, I have not been back. And they have a lot of other activities which I still haven't been back to yet.
Let me tell you, this has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation.
You'll have to have us back.
Definitely, definitely. I want to just tell you that I have learned so much from you today. I really have. And I hope that young people will understand how important it is to really listen to their elders, if you will, and the significance of the stories that you can tell them.
Absolutely.
And it's so good to hear that you are constantly busy sharing and telling your stories. I mean, this is absolutely one of the most important things we can do. Absolutely. You know, we are an oral history people.
Yes, we are.
Okay, we stem from the griots, and this is what we do.
Absolutely.
So I want to thank you both again for coming. It's been wonderful to have you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for giving us a chance to tell our story.
And you know what? We'll have you back too.
Thank you so much.
Unfortunately, that's about all we have time for today. I want to thank our guests, Tina Clarke and Vernon Ricks, for joining us. I'm Deborah Milo. Please join us again next month for another edition of Mosaic, an African-American perspective.
County Cable Montgomery, your information station.